Welcome back to Bonding Balance, where I give you the best dating tips and relationship advice to create the love life of your dreams. Whether you're single, dating, or in a long-term relationship, my goal is to help you navigate the complexities of love. Today we're diving deep into a topic that can be a little awkward, but is oh so important. 7 signs that a man hasn't had sex in a long time. Yes, you heard that right, going through a dry spell. It happens to all of us at some point, right? It's a natural part of life. But how can you tell if the man you're seeing is going through an extended period without intimacy? What are the signs? Well, there are some signs, some subtle cues and shift in behavior that might suggest he hasn't been intimate in quite some time. These signs can be quite telling, and that's exactly what I'm going to discuss in today's video. We'll break it down step by step. First, it can help you understand his behavior better. Understanding these signs can make a big difference. If you're dating him or getting to know him, these signs can provide valuable insight into where he's at emotionally and what might be driving certain actions. It can help you connect on a deeper level. And second, knowing these signs can prevent you from making wrong assumptions. Misunderstandings can be avoided. For example, let's say you meet a guy who seems really nervous around you. It can be confusing. Your first thought might be that he's not interested or doesn't like you, but that might not be the case at all. But in reality, his behavior could simply reflect the fact that he hasn't been intimate with a woman in a long time. So let's dive in and explore these signs together. So let's talk about the first sign that a man might not have been intimate for a while: nervousness, especially around women. Now, this doesn't mean that every guy who stumbles over his words or gets a little shy is automatically going through a dry spell. There are many reasons someone might feel nervous or shy, but a prolonged period without intimacy can certainly be one of them. However, if you notice a pattern of awkwardness, hesitation, or excessive shyness, specifically when he's around you or other women, it could be a sign that he's out of practice in the dating and intimacy department. This kind of behavior often stems from a lack of recent experience in romantic or intimate settings. Think about it this way: intimacy involves vulnerability. It's not just about physical closeness, but also about emotional openness. When we open ourselves up to someone physically and emotionally, we're putting ourselves out there. This act of vulnerability can be daunting, especially if one hasn't done it in a while. And if a man hasn't experienced that vulnerability in a while, it's only natural for him to feel a little rusty, a little unsure of himself. This uncertainty can make him second-guess his actions and feel less confident in his interactions. He might be second-guessing his every move, worried about making a mistake, or simply feeling overwhelmed by the situation. This can lead to a cycle of nervousness that feeds on itself. This nervousness can manifest itself in different ways. It can be subtle or quite noticeable depending on the individual. Maybe he avoids eye contact, fidgets constantly, or struggles to hold a conversation. These are all signs that he might be feeling out of his depth. He might seem distant or aloof, even if he's actually interested. This can be confusing for both parties involved. This isn't necessarily a red flag, but it's definitely something to pay attention to, especially if it's coupled with other signs on this list. It's important to consider the context and other behaviors. Remember, confidence often comes from experience. The more we engage in intimate interactions, the more comfortable and confident we become. When we're regularly engaging in intimate interactions, we develop a sense of comfort and ease in those situations. This comfort allows us to be more genuine and relaxed. On the other hand, when we've been out of the game for a while, it's easy to lose that confidence and feel like we need to relearn the rules. This relearning process can be challenging, but also an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. Now, this sign might seem a little counterintuitive, but trust me on this one. When a man hasn't been intimate in a long time, he might become overly eager to please, almost to a fault. Why? Because he's craving that connection, that validation, and that feeling of being desired. He might shower you with compliments, go above and beyond with gestures of affection, or constantly seek your approval. While these can be sweet gestures in moderation, when they become excessive or feel forced, it can be a sign that he's trying a little too hard to impress you. Think of it like this. Imagine you haven't ridden a bike in years. When you finally get back on, you're going to be a little shaky, a little unsure of yourself. You might even overcompensate by pedaling too fast or turning too sharply. It's the same with intimacy. He might be so worried about messing things up or appearing inexperienced that he ends up overdoing it. The key here is balance. It's great to appreciate his efforts, but it's also important to set boundaries and let him know that you appreciate him for who he is, not what he does for you. Let's talk about the third sign, a lack of confidence. When a man hasn't had intimacy in a while, it can take a significant toll on his self-esteem and overall sense of self-worth. He might start to doubt his attractiveness, his desirability, and his ability to connect with women on both a physical and emotional level. This lack of confidence can manifest itself in various ways, affecting different aspects of his life. He might be hesitant to make a move, apologize for himself constantly, or put himself down, believing he's not good enough. He might avoid social situations where he feels like he's being judged or compared to other men, further isolating himself. He might even project his insecurities onto you, becoming overly critical of your appearance or actions, which can strain the relationship. This isn't because he's actually unhappy with you, but rather because he's projecting his own insecurities onto the situation, struggling with his self-image. Now, it's important to remember that a lack of confidence isn't always a sign of a dry spell or lack of intimacy. It can stem from various factors like past experiences, personal struggles, or societal pressures that weigh heavily on him. However, if you notice a sudden dip in his confidence, or if it seems specifically tied to intimacy and dating, it could be a sign that he's feeling insecure about his lack of recent experience in these areas. So how can you navigate this? First and foremost, be patient and understanding. Open communication and support can make a significant difference. Chapter 4. Let's address the elephant in the room, or perhaps we should say the activity in the bedroom. Excessive masturbation can be another sign that a man hasn't had physical intimacy in a while. Now it's crucial to remember that masturbation is a completely normal and healthy part of life. It's a natural way to relieve stress, explore one's sexuality, and can even have health benefits. However, when masturbation becomes a frequent escape from intimacy, a way to avoid real-life connections, or a substitute for a fulfilling sex life, it can be an indicator that a man is going through a dry spell. Think of it like this. If someone is constantly indulging in fast food, it might be a sign that they're not getting enough nutritious meals. Similarly, if a man is relying heavily on masturbation, it could suggest that he's craving intimacy and connection that he's not finding elsewhere. This isn't about judgment. It's about understanding the underlying needs and desires that might be driving this behavior. Chapter 5. Avoidance of physical touch. This next sign might seem counterintuitive, but it's important to understand the psychology behind it. When a man hasn't been physically intimate in a long time, he might actually avoid physical touch, especially in the beginning stages of getting to know someone. This might sound strange, but it often stems from a place of insecurity and fear of rejection. He might be worried that his desire for touch will be misconstrued, that he'll come across as too eager, or that he won't be able to control his physical response. Think about it like this. Imagine you haven't exercised in a long time, and then you're suddenly asked to run a marathon. You'd probably be hesitant, right? You might even avoid physical activity altogether, because you're worried about how your body will react. It's the same with intimacy. If a man has been holding back his desires for a while, the thought of physical touch can be overwhelming. Chapter 6. Talking about sex frequently. This sign might seem like a contradiction, but it's often a case of the lady doth protest too much. When a man talks about sex frequently, it's not necessarily a sign that he's getting plenty of action. In fact, it could be the complete opposite. When we're lacking something in our lives, we tend to fixate on it,